What if I tell you that you're about to watch the best, the most accurate, and the easiest cutting and sewing tutorial on baggy pants that you will come across on the internet? Hi creatives, I am Dimma and you're welcome to another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to cut and sew a trendy baggy pant. If this sounds like what you'll be interested in, then you have to stick around till the end. If you've not subscribed to my channel, do well to subscribe and turn on your notification bell to be the first to know each time I upload my lovely videos. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the video. I started with this with 3 yards Ankara fabric. That is what I used for this project. And this is my pattern paper in white. Now, the first thing I did was to go ahead and measure the pattern paper, the 2 dimensions. Of course, lengthwise, it was not enough. And even this other way, it's not enough as well. But I had to join it this way to make up for the width. But for the length, I will complete it while cutting on fabric. So I had to join pattern paper like this to, make it to be enough for what I want to do, because I want to cut the back and the front at once on the same paper. That is drafting. All right, so what I will do now is to go ahead and really line and start the whole pattern drafting process. So watch closely to see what I am doing. The first thing I did was to take a measurement of where I feel is enough, or where I calculated to be enough to contain my front pattern and of course the crouch extension. So that is what I did. What I measured here was 14 inches. So after measuring, I had to go ahead and rule a starting line at the beginning. That is about 1 inch from the beginning of the paper. I just ruled the line and I'll go ahead and rule along the 14 inches mark that I made just now. After that, the next thing to do is to go ahead and measure the crotch level. Okay, my crotch is 10 inches plus 2 inches, that is 12. So go ahead and measure and rule a horizontal line across that part. So this is the crotch depth. So I just wrote crotch there. Now the next thing is to measure and divide this by 3. Okay, when you divide by 3, you measure it from here upwards. Any value you get, you measure it upwards, okay, from the crotch depth, and then rule a horizontal line again, and this is the hip level. All right, so after doing that, the next thing is to measure the hip divided, front hip divided by 2. If your hip is 44, please, you will use 21 for front and use 23 for back. I hope this makes sense. So that 21, I will divide it into 2, that is 10.5, and that is what I marked and then ruled a vertical line. Now I will measure here and divide by 4. Anything I get, that is the 10.5 divided by 4. Anything you get is what I marked here, and that will be the crotch extension for the front. I hope this makes sense. So after that, we will go ahead and mark the midpoint between the waistline and the crotch. Okay, when you mark the hip, measure here 1.5 and then connect. Okay, connect from around the midpoint through the 1.5 inches mark and then to the end of the crotch extension. Now the upper part of the front pattern is almost complete. Now the next thing to do is to measure the waist divided by 4. You mark and then put 1 inch dart intake. Okay, I know it's a free pant. You will understand why I did this. These darts will not be stitched. So right now you connect it to the hip like this, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so I will go ahead and complete the rest of the pattern. This one will go straight down. Just measure exactly what it gave you from the edge of the paper at that crotch point and then rule a straight line down. So that is how to do here. Rule a straight line down. So this is what I have right here. Now the next thing, this is the front that I just wrote. Now the next thing is to go to the waistline and drop it by 1/2 inch on this front, center front, and then connect to the waist, to the side waist with your ruler. So it wasn't really giving me what I wanted, so I used freehand to connect it. And that is it for the front pattern. As easy as that. So after doing this, I will then go ahead and continue with the back pattern. Okay, so right here you can see the pattern paper, and I will go ahead and measure the levels that I measured for the front as well, with alterations that suits the back. Please watch closely. Now what I marked here is still the same crotch length, that is the crotch depth rather. That is what I marked, and I will go ahead and rule a horizontal line there. This is the back pattern that we are doing now. Now the next is to divide again, just extend what we had in front, extend to the back because it's the same. Okay, that is the hip line, right? Now after that, we'll go ahead and divide the back hip, which is 23 by 2, okay, and it will give 11.5, and that is what I marked right now. And you have to connect, you have to draw a vertical line like this. Now having done this, I will measure this and divide it by 2. You know, in front I divided by 4, for the back you divide by 2. Any value you get, we are going to use this for the crotch extension for the back. So that is what I just marked right now. Then I will extend it because the marking did not get there. After that, I will go ahead and get the midpoint of this line as well. Then here I'm going to mark 2 1/4 inches, and then from the midpoint of that line, I'm going to connect to get the crotch of this. So just mark the midpoint like this, just as we did in front, and connect. So I used my free hand to do this using the points that I marked as a guide. So after doing all of that, this is what we have for the back. Now the next is to go ahead and go to the waistline. So we'll go to the waistline, watch closely to see what I did. I'll measure the waist measurement divided by 4. And then this time is not 1 inch that intake, is 2 inches that intake. In front was 1, at the back is 2 inches. So you connect just as I did. Pay close attention and you will understand everything I did. So go up here by 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch. Just go up there by that, just as you can see me do, and I'll be connecting this to the side waist of the back. So this is what it looks like, and this is the back pattern. Now the next thing is to go ahead and measure this to where the crotch ended, and then mark the same point down till the hem, the end of the paper. I will make up the length when I am cutting on fabric, and I will add any excess I need for the baggy trouser while cutting on fabric. Just pay close attention to see what I'm doing. So having done this, I had to go ahead and cut out my pattern. After cutting this pattern out, the next is to go ahead and cut on fabric. Is this not easy? And the fit of this pant is so nice, like so beautiful. So I had to go ahead and cut out every part that is not needed. And then I'll bring in my fabric and cut on fabric. If you've not subscribed to my channel at this stage, guys, what are you waiting for? There's always something new to learn on my videos, from my videos. Definitely, you won't regret it. So the next thing I'm going to do right here is to take out the band. I never took out the band. I purposely did that. So what I marked is 1.5 inches. So I marked 1.5 inches, and I will go ahead and draw it. Where I trimmed out now is where I omitted while cutting the pattern. So this is 1.5 inches band, and I had to go ahead and cut it out just like this. I'll do the same thing for the back as well. Just measure 1.5 all through because that will be the size of the band. Okay, and then mark just as you can see me do and cut out. If you decide to make this band higher, like 2 inches and 2.5, it is choice, but that means it will now be like a high waist pant. So having done this, you can see what we have. I can now go ahead and cut on fabric. Now this is the fabric I'll be using for this project, and I will go ahead and place my patterns on it. Fold it in a way that it is enough for the pattern, but do not waste your fabric. Always ensure to, manage your fabric not to have excess waste. So I left that one from fold because I will be adding some extra fabric to make it a baggy trouser. Yes, and of course the seam allowance. So after pinning it like this, I'll go ahead and add extra where you can see me pointing. So what I added here is about 2.25 inches because the excess I added to the trouser is 3/4. Is 3/4 while the seam allowance is 1.5. So what I added here is 2.25 inches, 3/4 inch for the excess and 1.5 for the seam allowance because it will have side pockets. That's why I took up to 1.5 for the seam allowance for the side. So you can see what I did right here. I'll just go ahead and cut. Here I cut with 1/2 inch, and this other side I cut with 1/2 inch. This way I cut with 3/4 inch, and then I had to extend this to the hem of the trouser. So here I'm cutting exactly where my chalk mark is, and that is 1.5 inch seam allowance with 3/4 inch ease for the trouser. So here I added extra 10 inches because the length of this paper gave me 35 total because I removed 1 inch from the upper part of this. Okay, so I will just go ahead and notch the seam allowance. That is what I did. I measured 2 from this beginning because I want to mark the pockets. Okay, for the pocket entry, then measured 7 downwards from that point. I had to go ahead and notch it. So this is to note exactly where my pocket will be. So I folded it again for the back pattern. I had to go ahead and place the back pattern and then cut it out just as I did for the front. All the seam allowances I used in front are the same for the back. By the side is 2.25 inches and every other part, the upper part is 1/2 and around the crotch is 1/2 and the inseam is 3/4, just the same way I did for the front. So what I'm measuring here is 2.25, 1.5 is for the seam and 3/4 is just the excess for the trouser. You can as well use 1/2. 1/2 will still work very well. If you want the trouser to be bigger, you can still do that. You add extra, but I feel more than 3/4 or more than 1 inch will be too big, and you don't want that. Yes, it's baggy, but it still has to look really good. So right now, so you can see what I am doing is just to go ahead and cut everything out, and we will start putting everything together. So I had to notch just as I did in front the seam allowance, and of course I'll mark the pocket entry 2 inches down and 7 inches here. So I will also notch these points so that fixing the pockets will be very easy breezy. So you can see all of this. I am almost getting done with this. You can see what the back looks like. So having done this, I had to go ahead and fold again to get the band. So when I folded like this, I just had to cut out. Not the band, the pocket. So right here, I had to measure. You know, I gave opening of 7 inches. I just made this one 8.5 inches at that pocket entry. So I drew a line. Don't worry, I will show you the dimensions of the pocket. So I just cut this pocket freehand actually. But you see the dimensions to be enough to enter the hand and all of that. So I had to cut the second pocket. This is 4 pieces of the pocket here. After cutting the pocket, this is what it looks like. I just had to go ahead and smoothen all 4 together. So this is what I have. I have 8 3/4 here, and I have 11.5 while measured this way. Okay, so you can see the depth. So this is the 11.5, and it will match because the hand length is about 10, so 11.5 is perfect. By the time you take away seam allowances, it will just be perfect. So this is what I have for the back, and I'll go ahead and stitch this way and as well stitch the front as well. So I've gone ahead to stitch the back crotch and also the front crotch. So after stitching it, I'll open it up like this and go ahead to fix the pockets. So this is how I place the pocket, 1/2 inch above the notch. Okay, that is where I fix the pocket. I also placed this one as well, 1/2 inch above the upper notch, and of course it lands 1/2 inch below the lower notch. I hope this makes sense. So after stitching it down, this is what it looks like. I had to serge as well, everywhere that needs to be serged. And this is the front. I had to go ahead and fix the pockets for the front as well. And then you have to place it like that, like this, right sides facing each other. Right sides facing each other, you place it like this and go ahead and stitch on your seam allowance round the pocket. And of course you stitch round like this, and of course stitch down, serge where needs to be serged, and let everything look neat. So having stitched it, this is what it looks like. So this stitch I covered now is called the out seam. So that is what I took care of. I had to, you know, weave the down part as well. So I'm going to stitch the inseam now. So the inner seam where I am showing you right now is called the inseam. So I'm going to stitch it this way to the crotch and then go and stitch it this other way. So after stitching it, I can now go ahead and hem the trouser. So that is what I did right here. I have stitched it and I've hemmed the trouser. If you want it to be slimmer, you can, you know, shape it up right now by the side if you want. But I am okay with this. I don't want it to be fitted. It should be a baggy trouser. Yeah. So it's a baggy pant, and that is what we are making. So, but if you want your own to be more fitted on the body, you can go ahead and take out a little bit, as much as you want, from the side, please, from the side. Don't go to the inseam area. So I had to go ahead and measure the waist. Measure accurately. You see this waist, ensure you measure accurately. When I measured, I got 49 inches because of all of the extras for the waist. You know, the dart is unstitched, and of course we added extra 3/4 all over, so that made the waist to come to about 49 inches. So I will just have to measure a band. The band has to be 50 inches in length. Okay, so you can see the elastic I'll be using, and it's 2 inches. You know what we cut out for the band is 1.5, but the elastic I'm using is 2 inches, so I'm going to work with the elastic. Yes, so this is 4 inches plus, you know, seam allowance. So what I measured right here is about 5.5 inches to take care of the band, wrapping up the band, and of course the seam allowance. And I had to cut it too because one will not give me up to 50 inches. Okay, so you can see what is remaining. I started with 3.5 yards, 3 yards 20 inches, but I'm left with about 22 inches fabric. Okay, meaning it took almost 3 yards. So what I have here is the band. You can see that I just measured out a little bit from the second one to join to the first. Because that is all I need to make it up to 50 inches length. I hope that makes sense. Yes, the band is 2 inches as against the 1.5 inches that was taken out from the waist, but that's fine. It will just make the waist of the trouser to be ½ inch above where it is supposed to be, and I don't think it's bad. More like a high waist trouser by ½ inch above the waistline. So having done this is what I did. I had to stitch here close. You can see where I joined it, I ironed it open. I also stitched here close and ironed it as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure the band that I need. If your waist is 34 inches, just measure this elastic to be 32 inches. I hope this makes sense. You remove 2 inches from whatever waist measurement you have, and that is it. This is how I'm going to place the elastic from the middle of this. I hope you saw what I did. So this is what I did. Observe that I did not get it to the seam allowance. Okay, so this is how I placed the elastic and stitched it down, and I'll be wrapping it in like this. So the fabric, aside what I'm saying, just watch what I'm doing and you'll understand. So I have to wrap it up and stitch it closed just like this. The next thing is just to bring my trouser and stitch in the band on it. So I will be placing that place that the elastic joined the band is where I'll be placing on the center front, just like this, and I will stitch it round. You can pin round before stitching if that is more comfortable for you. So after putting in the band, I serged it, and this is what it looks like. I will go ahead and iron, and of course put a little sort of bias thread drop in front. So I wanted to put sort of rope in front, and that is what I want to make right here. So I got a pieces and just trimmed out a little to give me about 1/3 to 2 inches, about 2 inches. Okay, so this is how I'm going to fold it in to get a tiny rope that I want to drop just in front of the baggy trouser. So this is how I'll be folding it in and folding it again to get a tiny strip. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch it down, and this is what I got. When I stitched it, it was actually looking wider than I wanted, so I had to fold it again and stitch it to get this tiny band. So I'll just place it at the middle front there. After getting the middle of this rope, I'll stitch it at the middle front, and this is what the baggy trouser looks like. Even on the table is looking so nice, as you can see. I'll just go ahead and iron and then wear it for you to see. So when I wore it, this is what it looks like. Don't you like this? If you like and enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Try it out and let me know what you think. Tell me what you think in the comments. Do exactly what I did in this video and you will get a perfect fitting pant like mine. Trust me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, like, comment, share, for this will help my video to go really far. Thanks for watching, guys, and do not fail to subscribe and turn on your notification bell to be the first to know each time I upload my lovely videos. Thank you, and I will see you in my next one. I love you all. Bye.